Hey everybody, welcome to Cinema Trip Reviews, special October edition featuring Vern and Alex. This time we're not only talking about one movie, but a trilogy of movies, and that is the Evil Dead series. Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and of course Army of Darkness. Um, Always been a favorite trilogy, horror series of mine growing up. I know Alex, it's been pretty present in your life as well. You've loved the movies as well.
Yeah,
Vern, this is actually your first time watching them, right?
exactly. All three of them too. We sat there and watched them all back to back just because, like you said, you two have already seen them, but I
Yeah.
haven't. So we met up and watched them all back to back to back to back. And I gotta say, it was an
Yeah,
interesting experience, man.
it's definitely an interesting set of movies to watch straight through. I mean,
hmm
they're interesting just watching just each one, but I mean, having all of them,
But
it's wild.
I feel like I got a great grasp of them sitting there doing that because each one was still fresh in my mind, so I can compare and contrast, and especially now because all it's not like I watched one and then waited 3 weeks and watched another. I watched them all at the same time, so the memory is still in my head. When I look back at all of them, I could sit here and think about it.
So, I mean, right off the bat, we'll just start off with the first one, Evil Dead. Of course, all these are directed by Sam Raimi's classic horror movie. I mean, this one they kind of evolve to kind of different styles for each one. This one is like pretty much the straight up horror movie out of them all.
hmm
Um,
This one is my personal Evil Dead's my personal favorite. It's the one I get the most enjoyment out of still to this day.
yeah,
It's campy. It's
I was gonna
classic.
ask like why is it your favorite out of all three?
It's my favorite because I love a good B flick horror movie, something you can riff on, something you can just like have a good time watching it. Because like horror to me, it doesn't scare me anymore. It's something I can kind of laugh with my friends. And this is the it's the classic example, not modern example. It's the classic example of a movie that has aged from something like it was a horror movie when it came out, but it's
Right.
aged that it's not anymore. It's not conventionally, but it's still good. It's good in a whole different sense, and I love it. I love the bad makeup. I love the
Yeah.
crazy effects, and I love like the story of the budget they did it. It's just my most enjoyable watch from start to finish, and I love them all, but this one's the one I go back to the most.
Yeah, it's crazy to see what they were able to do with the budget they had because they were just kind of going around just like looking for investors to fund this movie that they just went out and shot in the film in the woods by themselves. And I mean, it's
Basically, yeah.
yeah, I mean it's pretty simple. Just like the kids go into a cabin in the woods, they find the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead. Of course, they read it. Wakens the
Of
evil dead.
course, they read it.
Of course, they read it. Wakens the evil dead in the woods. And they kind of each kind of get possessed one by one and start taking each other out. And of course, the star of the series, Bruce Campbell, Ash, is the one that's got to clean everything up.
hmm Just stuck
This
in
one
this
is
mess.
he's not quite Ash yet. This one he's still
Yeah,
kind of Ashley. He's just
he's
like
just Ashley
going
in this
through
one.
this in this one. He's just like shit,
Losing his mind the whole
Yeah,
time, man.
Oh
most
yeah,
of the
man.
movie is him like kind of cowering, like I
Yeah.
don't know
Mhm.
what to do,
Just like,
just
like
watching everything unfold.
I loved, like Alex was saying, how it's a great classic horror movie. I love the suspense building that was in that movie. It just you could tell, like nowadays in 2021, you could tell what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
Everybody, but it was just so cool to see it in that perspective. Looking back on it as a classic movie that I've never seen before. So it was just really interesting for me to see the first time.
Some horror tropes, some like classic horror tropes still come from it too. Like that the camera kind of like first person zooming in on people. This
Yeah,
is one of
running
the first
around
movies that
chasing
like
things.
popularized
Mhm.
that. And that's like a super popular horror trope at this point, like that happens
Right,
all the
something
time.
that's super recognizable now,
Yeah.
but like
Like
to see it back then.
when I see it, I'm like, oh, that's the Evil Dead camera, like that's the one. And I hear that he was just on a bike doing it, so I just imagine Sam Raimi on a fucking just like
Just
pedaling
ride
through the
the
woods.
dude like sitting on the back holding the camera or something. But yeah, it's
Uh,
very like you could tell it was like an indie production. It's very cheap, like out you were saying, like you could see like the masks peeling off. They had to use
yeah.
different actors for some of the roles at certain points. So like there's parts where it's supposed to be the same like demon, but it's like a different person with the same makeup on, and you could tell it's a different person. The wig looks weird on them or something. Like it's awesome, man. And just the way that they were able to do the effects too. Like the one that stands out to me is whenever she stabs the chick in the ankle with the pencil,
Ugh, I
and she's
hate
like
that
twisting
scene.
her out, and it's crazy to see that happen like in the late '70s, even like on a film like this. And that was another thing is it's extremely gory for the time. Like
Mhm.
there was some like grindhouse movies that did it, and like some like foreign movies that were really bloody. But yeah, Evil Dead really pushed the limits, especially through all the movies, with the exception of like Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I mean, what were some of your favorite parts of this movie?
One of my favorite scenes is when his girlfriend, whatever her name is, when she's like laughing at him and she's sitting in the hallway with the makeup, and it's like right at the beginning of the sing. Makeup's terrible. Like, it's not even scary. It just looks like somebody threw clown makeup on her.
It looks like she has like those thick, huge white contact lenses into.
She looks like Mimi from fucking
from the Drew Carey
show. Like, that's the makeup.
I never thought about that, but you're right. It does.
That's one of my favorite scenes, and one of the most classic scenes, and it's still scary to this day, is when the chick is like push the cellar door
Looking
up and
through
she's
the
looking
cellar
through
door.
it.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a classic, like,
See, I
horror
was gonna
icon.
ask, because I slightly forget like if that was from the first movie or not. 'Cause that's what I was gonna
They
say.
do
there,
blend
like,
a little bit, the first two.
You know what
They
I mean?
do
Just
blend,
looking
yeah.
through, but
And she's like slamming it when she's attacking them. She's just like,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, this one's a really easy one for me because, again, I think it builds the best, where the rest of them just kind of get straight into it. This one like goes through an arc like a movie
it builds
should.
the
And
tension. It's very slow at first.
It's
It builds
slow
up
at
to
first.
everything, and it's the only one that really features a tree rape.
Yeah, man, that's one of my not favorite parts. Like right there was that part, man. Like I'm sitting here worried about when he went outside. I thought he was gonna get tree raped. I was just like, oh my god,
This is the first movie that made me afraid of trees. Like, damn.
Jesus.
Jaws made people afraid to go in the water. This movie made you go afraid to go in the woods.
That is an effective scene, though. Like,
It is
the reverse, because it's like just the filming backwards, like wrapping it and then unwrapping it.
Yeah.
And again, that's one of the first time that effect was used to that extent. You know, like, I'm sure it's been used in other movies before that.
Yeah.
That was one of the first times that kind of effect was used. Like,
Right.
people underestimate that this was done practically. Like, everything was done practically. No CGI, nothing yet. You know.
Yeah, the only thing that they really had to do was like at the end when the monsters were falling apart, the claymation. I don't even know how these guys that actually had like no money were able to do that within this movie somehow. I don't know who did it for them. But
I bet you it's revert. Is that computer generated?
I feel like it has to be. It looks like claymated. I mean, they use some of the stuff like whenever they were actually melted, they use like applesauce coming out of the sleeve with like roaches. But whenever
I
like
think
the
it's just
person was
claymation.
standing there, it looked like claymation, and like because the mouth was moving and like the tongue was coming out.
That's what I think it is. I mean, that's still practical. I think it was just
yeah,
reverse
it's practical,
claymation.
yeah,
Like,
claymation. But still,
Yeah.
like at that point in the late 70s, for a movie with a budget like this, that's hard to. It was hard
Very
to
hard.
imagine them doing that. So I mean, it's crazy.
Probably got one take. Like,
we
I'm
only
gonna
got
rebuild
one
this
take to
again.
do this.
You got one
Don't
take.
mess this up.
Yeah. Don't do it.
What was some of your favorite like moments in it, Vern?
I was gonna say whenever she was just banging on the door there, and then honestly, the whole time he's just losing his mind. Like I'd like because he's dealing with all this shit, like you say. He's just like you say, he's always got that look on his face, where he's just like, oh my god, and he's just like. He's just going crazy, and I love that, man.
And the other dude's
just
a dick the whole movie. I think his
He
name was Bob.
It's like, Ash, we're not gonna get out of here.
and he's just
Even
he's just
before
trying
that,
to
he was
like
just a dick to like the girls too.
right,
He's the one who
fuck
reads
that
it,
guy.
right? He reads the Necronomicon, right?
Well, yeah, they pull the tape out, and they the dude on the tape that was at the cabin before like reads out of the book.
Yeah. Oh, I like when he cuts his girlfriend's head off too, and she's like walking around without the
Yeah, I was
head.
gonna say that was probably my
Oh, my
favorite
bad.
part.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, it's all right. I was gonna say that was my
It's okay.
favorite part as well. Is whenever he's like digging up the body for her, and then like she attacks him, like she jumps at him, and he just swings the shovel, and her body lands on top, and everything's cool, and then like it just starts spurting blood out of her neck onto his face, and he's just like, ah. And then he's got a barrier. I love this one, but it doesn't stand up to the next one for me. The next one is my favorite. But before we move on, is there like any final thoughts about the first one, really?
It was a great starting point, and to me personally, like I said, being somebody who's never watched it before as a kid or anything like that, it was a great classic horror movie to go watch. So I would definitely recommend it to anybody.
Yeah.
I would also recommend it. It is my favorite of the series. now you're getting into it, but the second one is arguably the better movie.
Like movie, yeah.
Yeah, and I
Right,
get
but
that.
it's so like it's so cheesy and like you said, it's campy. It's just it's awesome. It's a good.
It's got gnarly kills too. Even like
seriously, the scene with the pencil, I know you brought it up, but that is seriously like a gross scene that still to this day I'm like, Listen, I got just a quick story with an ex-girlfriend. I was watching Evil Dead and she was also a horror fan. To tell you how much of a horror fan, we played PT together, and I'm not good at scary games. She powered through PT, dude. She was just like, no, I'm good. This is fine. So she was good with horror. She wasn't like a scared person.
Yeah.
I left the room when Evil Dead was on, and I came back and it was like pause, and she's like, I couldn't watch it out there. I was getting scared. And I was like, really? Like this was doing it for you?
Because I mean, it is meant to be the most like straight up horror movie out of them all. I mean, it does have a lot of unintentionally and some intentional funny parts as well.
Goofy.
Like the one that sticks out is like when the one dude, I think I keep wanting to say his name is Bob, but he's dying on that couch, and Bruce, like, he's sitting, like, Ash is sitting there trying to like you're all right, man, you'll be okay. He smacks him, and then he like gets some water, and he starts pouring water in his mouth, and it's like the dude's dead, and it's just like like just pour it out of his mouth. So it's like you try to drown the dude. But yeah, I love this movie. But I love the second one even more here. We're gonna roll right into Evil Dead 2. Mm-hmm. This one really took what was great about the first one and ramped it up by 1,000. Like they just went balls to the wall, and this one went all crazy with it. This one pretty much picks up right where the first one lets off, except Ash is evil now for a minute. But it goes real crazy. It's pretty much a like cabin fever type movie. He's losing his mind in this cabin.
Which is the best part, dude.
It is. That's like the best parts of the movie is him like by himself in this cabin losing his mind.
If the first one is a good just like drinking movie, this one's a fucking acid trip, dude. This one is the one you need to be, you're just sitting back like, what in the fuck is happening, dude? There's just every scene just seems to top itself and get crazier and crazier. And I'm jumping ahead in the story, but it all like accumulates into like that one shotgun shot to the wall where Bobby Joe and them are coming. I know we're getting there. And then that's when it kind of mellows out and kind of starts back up again.
It's like a whole kind of a different movie after that. Cause like, you're right. Even the music, it keeps like
just it crescendos.
Crescendos. It builds and builds with all the craziness. And with that shotgun shot, everything just goes silent. And then it's like just moves on. The movie moves on from there. But yeah, you're just trapped in like this madhouse for like the first like half hour, 40 minutes of this movie.
It is a madhouse. But anyways, we jumped ahead in the story. But in the beginning, it does kind of retell it with the director's kind of extended cut, I'd say. Kind like of, in the end,
it's just Ash and Linda.
That this go time, there. No more friends.
Yeah, and I mean, he ends up killing her, and it shows like a kind of, I wouldn't say it's claymation really, but it shows her like dancing with her head outside, and that's where it's like, whoa, where are we going with this one?
Like,
this was
what is going on
already
here?
Way different than the first. But that leads to actually one of my favorite parts in the movie is the work shed. Whatever, like he takes her head into the work shed because like she latches onto his hand. He's trying to knock it off. Like, there's a lot of slapstick comedy in this movie. I know that, like, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell grew up as, like, Three Stooges fans, so that's really present in these movies. So he takes her to the work shed and tries, like, to solve... He's going to chainsaw her head, pretty much, to get his hand out. And he pulls that curtain back, it just shows, like, the chalk outline of the chainsaw.
The people would do that, like, this is where chainsaws
This is where the chainsaw goes.
And then automatically, just the headless body busts in with the chainsaw.
Just waving it.
This was definitely less of a scary, like, take it serious horror movie. And, like, you could tell as they go through 1, 2, and 3, it gets more into a comedy type of situation. But it was
by the third one, it's a comedy.
Yeah.
The third one's a comedy.
Absolutely.
You know, it's a, But that is one of my favorite scenes, too, where he's, like, in the shed. And it leads to, and we're just leading on in the story, that leads to from the bite, where he goes in and he's fighting with his hand and he's got to cut it off, and then like he's just like it's crawling to the walls and like he's like shooting the wall and shit. Yeah. And somehow this hand's laughing at him the whole time.
Yeah. He like flicks him off too. But
It's
yeah,
so
I mean that's
weird,
where it
bro.
gets even. Yeah, that's crazy. That's probably like one of the most iconic shots in Evil Dead is, and one of my favorites as well is him cutting his hand off. But yeah, I mean that's like what you're saying. It's like an acid trip because whenever he's hunting down the hand, that's when he like shoots the holes in the wall, and
And it
then
starts
like
bleeding.
and then the fountain of
That's
blood just
probably
shoots
my
at him.
favorite part of it because that was just so I was just like, what the hell is going on? When he's just like standing there, just all over him, bro. Like, I was reading something about that the other week because I was kind of interested in it. They said like he was just like had red snot for a long ass time after that, bro. Just like red snot, sneezing red shit. Like, that is crazy. The amount of blood that he
Just shot on him.
Yeah.
just it's not blood obviously, but like it just was
Still.
just it was so funny to see, you know what I mean? And then to think about that actually being practical, like you were saying there.
Yeah.
This in Evil Dead 2, when they're doing all this, it actually portrays the Deadites, is what they call them,
Yeah.
as what I like them as, is kind of like almost mischievous, you know, like they're not
tricksters.
just trying to kill you, they're trying to fuck with you.
Yeah,
and then
psychologically, they want to wear you
Yeah.
down.
they want to wear you down, you know, which I like. It eventually goes into Ash versus Evil Dead, which is a great show. Anybody should watch it. But that's kind of what they
Yeah.
kind of hint on, where they're just like fucking with Ash the entire time.
Because through all of them, through each of these movies, there's at least one part where one of the Deadites like turns back into the original person.
Yeah,
And
Right.
like, oh, don't kill me. Like, I'm better now. Everything's fine.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm fine.
Like, fuck yeah.
Which is when
I'll eat your soul.
At least
I'll eat
so
that out.
this is her head just turns into like in this one that
Yeah,
just
it's
like
her
Linda's head
on
in the thing, and she's like, "I'm good now, Ash," and I'm like,
Like,
"What?
it's
You're a
just a
fucking
head."
head."
You're just a head. That's not normal. You're
But-
definitely evil.
After he shoots the holes in the wall is the best part of the whole movie for me personally.
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
like
Vernon
you're
said his
already
is.
like, what's happening here, and then it goes even more. It goes further with it. With
Keeps go.
the deer
The
on
lamp.
the wall just starts laughing. And like
Oh my
cackling.
god, I forgot about
And
that
all of
part.
the lamps and the books
They're
start like
moving, and the
laughing,
books
I
are
was-
moving.
Uncomfortable as shit during that scene, bro. Like, not like scared or anything. I was just like,
What the fuck is going on?
what is going on right now? And you can like, I felt like Ash, like, you know what I mean, like, because
Yeah.
he's in that scene, but then he starts laughing.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
He's,
Like,
'cause
and
he's
then it even
losing it.
it
He's
throws
losing his
me
mind
off.
at this point.
Starts dancing
my
with the
God.
like go with the lamp.
And then that's where it crescendos, and as this is all happening, we keep cutting back to three characters: Billy Joel,
Billy Joe,
the daughter of the guy at the cabin. Though.
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
whole kind of thing, and she's got pages of the Necronomicon, which is the Book
Annie.
of the Dead. Annie, yeah,
Annie and Jake.
yeah, and she's coming in, and that's when they first just knock on this door, and bam, and then everything just goes quiet, and the movie just restarts itself like from a normal pace at this point. I mean, it gets crazy again, but
Yeah,
it restarts.
yeah, and that's whenever like they attack him because they think that he killed her parents and everything. They throw his ass down into the cellar. But before we get to this, we didn't even mention. Whenever we have to mention how awesome this part is, whenever the thing you never see in the woods that chases people. In this movie specifically, it chases him through the house. It's like one shot where he's just running from it, and he's like going in the walls, and he's like in the walls, and he's running through the house, busting through doors,
Just
and then he like
And he
turns
tricks
a
it.
corner, yeah, and he tricks it, and then it just goes back outside, it's an amazing shot. I love that every time where he's just running through this whole house and then goes like into the walls somehow. Like there's just
they
an
put,
entrance
like,
in the
this
wall.
wide ass
It's like a false wall or
Yeah.
something like
And
it's
he's
in
just
there.
running through the wall.
It's just funny. It's like this supernatural deadite, and he just like, oh, trick you. Like he
Tricked
juked
you.
him, you know.
Yeah, it's just, oh well, just runs back
Oh,
outside.
see you later.
But yeah, they throw his ass down in the cellar, and of course they find the tape, and they press play on the tape, and it starts reading the book again. And it talks about like how he had to kill his wife because she got possessed, and they like buried her in the cellar. And immediately, as soon as he says that, the body pops out of the cellar. And it's one
Henrietta.
of my favorite parts is whenever Ash screams like a girl. And that's Henrietta, played
That's
by
Henrietta.
Ted Raimi, who is Sam Raimi's brother, in this huge suit. But yeah, they gotta bust him out of there. And yeah, like what you're saying, it just goes crazy from there. Everybody starts getting possessed one by one, and of course, Ash gotta take him out.
It's
Nah.
almost at this point a repeat of the first one, but for all the viewers that are watching this and you haven't seen it, it's better this time. Like the
Yeah.
budget's bigger, the kills are bigger, the creatures are bigger, like everything's just like a bigger budget flick at this point. But it does hit the same beats again, you know.
Yeah. Ash does turn into Evil Ash. Pretty much a continuing thing throughout the whole Evil Dead franchise is Ash
In
ends
Yeah.
up
one way or
having
another.
evil at some point. Even through
Keeps
like
going
Ash
back and
versus
forth.
the Evil Dead as well, it happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, another part that sticks out is whenever Jake ends up like getting pulled down into like the cellar, and she's trying to pull him out, and you just see like
Henrietta's
all
eating him.
the blood just pouring out of the cellar and just splashing onto her. Is hilarious.
Why people keep trying to save people? Like if that much blood's coming out, like okay,
Yeah, that
Like,
dude's
you're
dead.
Yeah.
you're done, man.
You
No
ain't- you
problem.
are not saving that person. But of course we get the famous franchise. He puts the chainsaw onto his hand, and of course the famous line before he goes and faces Henrietta. But yeah, and then that's whenever pretty much the setup for Army of Darkness happens with, you know, opening the portal whenever that huge
tries to
tree
save him.
monster comes in and tries to eat
Yeah.
him. That's in
Which
the
is weird.
doorway. And then she opens up the portal to pretty much kill the demons, but it also sucks Ash into the past.
Which is some crazy shit. Like to go, I mean, I know it was a crazy movie already, but it just kept getting wilder and wilder and wilder.
It
Yeah.
never
Now he's in
stops,
a
dude.
portal and he's back in time.
Yeah,
Like,
it goes
what the
back to medieval
fuck? What do you-
times.
Where did that come from? Like, where do you know what I mean? But like, I loved it because honestly, the third one is probably my favorite. Like, out of
Oh,
the
really?
three,
Okay.
just because it was probably to me. I don't know if enjoyable is the most like the right word, but I really liked it. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Oh,
So
yeah,
we'll get
it
to that
is.
though.
The third one might be the most watchable when we get into it, but
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that here in a minute.
and I want to quickly go back to when he gets the chainsaw for the hand and he cuts the like chain or the shotgun. Even as a kid, I thought one of the most ingenious thing is he has this little clip on his fucking shirt that he can start the chainsaw with.
Yeah.
And like it's just like, why would he even think about that? Like if I had a hand, I would just start the chainsaw. But nope, he's got like this little clip he can slide the
'Cause you're holding
chainsaw
a
in and
boomstick in the other
Yeah.
hand.
he's just like just like one-handed starting this chainsaw. It's just the most badass thing. The image, and Vernon's got it as his background of him with the chainsaw hand and just like with now the one in Vernon's background is with the blue shirt is just such an iconic, like it's like up there with Ellen Ripley holding the fucking flamethrower and doing her back with me. Like
Yeah.
it's so iconic to me. But this is one of my favorites. This is probably the last one I saw in the franchise, though, even as a kid. Army of Darkness was first. I saw it on cable, and then I kind of watched them in order. But some of my favorite scenes, like we said, I love when Henrietta turns into the big, like, long-headed monster. It's
Oh,
probably
yeah.
the most iconic monster of the franchise. They even bring it back in the show.
And like the
Like-
slow motion slash. Then he like does
Yeah.
the spin slash, cut her head off.
Yeah. Other than that, the laughing scene, I mean, all the things we did hit, we talked a little bit more in depth in this one, but it is a fantastic movie. I would highly recommend the whole franchise, but this movie's a highlight of it. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think my favorite like thing about it is honestly how it is a retelling of the first one, but a bigger budget. It's
Yeah.
like I have love for that first one because of what it is, but this, like you guys were saying, this is a better movie.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so much wider in range of what they're doing. Like you could tell, like they're better at writing and like everything. It's just like a better movie overall. And I love, like I said, that part where he's just and just gets pelted with all that blood, and he's just like, and then I forgot about the part that you brought up earlier about the deer laughing like that. Like I said, it made me very uncomfortable. But like as soon as I like it's memorable, you know. So that's always gonna be stuck in my head there.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of Alex brought this up a lot when we were watching it. Is like a lot of the camera tricks is amazing about this as well that Sam Raimi used, and specifically one of my favorites is whenever he goes and finds like the bridge has been destroyed, he can't get out, and the invisible monster you don't see or whatever that's chasing him, he's driving back, and he hits like a stump and he flies through the windshield and hit into the tree. But as he's getting up, it shows like the the first person point of view of the monster, and it like comes up and goes through the back window of the car and out the windshield. And I just love that shot for some reason as it's chasing him up,
and he
back
had
into
to
the
do
house.
Yeah, like he had to actually take the camera through. It's a great camera angle.
Yeah,
like on like a big long stick or something, you know what I mean? Like,
just I love like the little funny things, like they shut the cellar door on Henrietta's head and the eye pops out and goes in the chick's mouth. Hilarious. And then as soon as that happens, the other dude turns into a deadite and starts like eating her hair, and then like rips the hair out. It's like going up into his mouth, and he's like, his face is so weird looking. And then just like the little one-liners. I mean, we don't really get into Ash's personality until the next one, but there's just like these little things here and there. Of course, the famous like work shed ad lib.
Work shed.
As the first one is my favorite, it is the most laughable. Like you can just make fun of it. It's stupid, and that's the best part of it. So,
and the second one, you're like laughing with the movie pretty much.
You're laughing because you don't know what else to do. You're like, okay. You're just like Ash when the lamps are laughing. You're like, what the fuck else do
I think I'm losing my mind.
But probably the most famous. We're moving on right along.
Yeah, right along here to the third one, Army of Darkness. Now this is, of course, the biggest budgeted movie out of them all. This one was picked up. I think it was released by Universal. If I could be wrong.
This is the one that's in hell right now. Like it's in rights hell. Like who's got the rights hell to it?
Because that's why they had to pretty much remake the second one right at the beginning of this one to kind of explain what's going on. And because it's a big budget movie made by a big budget studio at this point, that's why a lot of it was kind of tamer. It kind of went the tame side, as compared to the other two. This one is pretty much an all-out comedy at this point. A lot of slapstick comedy, like Looney Tunes.
Dark comedy. Yeah.
A lot of dark comedy. But yeah, this one picks up right where the last one left off, pretty much, with Ash going back to medieval times, and he's pretty much got captured.
Oh, they throw him in the pit. And my favorite part of the pit. So he's captured. He's like a slave, and they take him in. I don't know who
any of these assholes are.
I don't know any of these assholes. He's with it because it's like two opposing armies, and they think he's with the opposing army.
Yeah.
But like, there's this big pit and presumably full of deadites. And one of my favorite scenes is when they toss the first guy in, and like literally 3 seconds later, there's just a fucking fountain of blood again, just like. But then, like, they throw Ash down there, and like the creature he meets does not look like it could do that.
Threatening like that, yeah. And it's just like the wall that comes in definitely wouldn't do that.
Yeah, dude, it's like a fountain of blood, like you got thrown into a garbage disposal or something.
Looks like Nightmare on Elm Street with Johnny Depp.
Like the bed,
with the water bed. I would say the first like half hour of this movie is like, I love the movie overall, but the first half hour is like perfect to me, like with the pit. And then he escapes, and he just has like all those lines where he's just like,
well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants. I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but two things right now: Jack and shit. And Jack left town.
And the probably most famous line of the whole series, he shoots the shotgun in the air.
This is my boomstick.
It's got to be the most famous line of the series.
He breaks down what the gun is, and he's like, "Find it at your local S-Mart." And remember, shop smart. Shop S-Smart.
You got that?
I like how I kept calling him primitive, you know what I mean?
Yeah, listen up, you primitive screwheads.
He was rude as shit the whole fucking time.
The whole movie. He's just an asshole. And this is like the Ash that we get to know. This is even through, because they make Ash versus the Evil Dead, which is a modern, like, catching up with Ash in his old age. And he's just that asshole still, he has the one-liners and everything.
He's arrogant. And as much as I love the first two, this is the Ash that I loved. This is the Ash that is just fun to watch, man.
That's what I mean. Like,
he's the arrogant asshole. Yeah, he's the arrogant asshole that you kind of like to watch. He's fun.
Let's see what happens to this guy. Plus, I'm like a sucker for medieval shit. So once I saw like knights and shit, I was like, oh, I'm in, bro. And it's this shit like kind of already familiar because I just watched 2 movies with this guy, so I want to see where it's going. Like, I really like that one, man.
He's like, first you want to kill me, now you want to kiss me. Hello.
Love.
Yeah, I mean that's a great part too when the medicine woman turns into the witch.
Yeah.
And then, he just takes out the boomstick and he's like, come get some.
This is the most I don't want to say family friendly, but this is the one that everybody will get enjoyment out of,
Yeah.
This is the one that, like, whatever kind of moviegoer you are, this one's the most, like,
most people can
easily
find
accessible.
enjoyment out of it.
Yeah. This is easily accessible.
Yeah, because from that point on, like, whenever he leaves to find the Book of the Dead, that's whenever it kind of gets, like, a very, like, slapsticky, he messes up the words.
Oh, see, that's my favorite favorite part is when he, like, can't remember the words, and the guy before it tells him, he's like, you got the words? He's like, yeah, I got the words.
Don't worry about it.
Like, and then he fucks the words up, and he's like, did you say the words? And he's like, yeah, more or less, like, I said them,
more or less,
pretty much,
like, I said them. But before we get into that, the fucking
goes to the windmill,
the windmill scene, all the little ashes.
We get the little ashes, which a lot of people like this. This is probably one of my least favorite parts of the movie.
It's a Looney Tunes
episode, dude.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's
like,
a fucking Looney Tunes.
Especially after watching the first two movies, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" You know what I mean? It felt like Looney Tunes to me.
Some of the scenes are okay. I like when he swallows the one and he dumps the, like, hot water down it. Like, that's funny.
I like when he he keeps hitting his head on that pipe, man. He just keeps, like, cracking his head on that pipe.
That scene is the most, like, jolted out of the rest of it, though.
Yeah,
like, that seems like the most, like, what? Yeah, like, what is happening here?
I think they do it a lot better. It's even in the first episode of Ash vs. Evil Dead. It's just like these little toys that, like, they wake up and, like, they try to kill him, but it's just like these little miniature toys. I think that plays better than just, like, these little versions of Ash. And I mean, we didn't watch it on VHS. We were watching it on, like, Blu-ray, so it looks terrible. Like, you could see the green screen and, like, the actual cutouts where, like, all these little ashes are. It looks terrible. I'm sure it looks better on VHS. But that's definitely my least favorite part of the series. But without the little ashes and him swallowing the other ash, we wouldn't get Evil Ash, which is the lead antagonist of the movie.
That leads me into one of my favorite slapstick parts of the scene where he's running down and he's splitting at the heads and they're, like, doing the Three Stooges scene, like, right there. And he's like
falling down the hill with, like, two bodies.
It's, like, splitting. Like, that's one of my favorite slapstick scenes of it. Like,
he's hamming it up in that scene.
And you're good, Ash. You're a goody little two-shoes. You're a goody little two-shoes.
And then he blasts his face off. He pulls out the shot. He's good, bad. I'm the one with the gun. Evil Ash is just a deadite version of Ash with his face blown off and like a bone armor, pretty much.
Yeah, right. But this is where he actually gets to the Necronomicon, and he's got to pick between 3 books, and I like when he opens the first book and it starts, like, sucking him in.
Yeah,
like, how, like, ineffective of a trap is it that he could just, like, pull himself out.
And it's like, his face is, like, long, and then he, like, rearranges his face a couple times.
It's a fucking Looney Tunes episode, man.
And then the other one just bites his hand, and he's just sitting there trying to get it off. He's
what
like,
are the odds
I'll come back to you. But of course, him saying the saying Klaatu Verata Decto Rog.
Klaatu Verata.
It unleashes the Evil Dead, pretty much the evil army, which is controlled by Evil Ash. And then he has to go back, and he's just ready to bail at that point. Whenever he gets back, he's like, "I got you your damn book. Get me out of here. I care less about the army that's coming to kill you."
Yeah.
He ends up helps him, like, trains all the soldiers. They build the huge tank out of, like, his car that he has through all the movies.
Mm-hmm.
You have Lord of the Rings, the 2 rings fight off. Everybody fights,
Yeah, and it's very like Clash of the Titans, where they're fighting the skeletons. It's very reminiscent of that, kind of.
I think it's Clash of the Titans with the stop motion skeletons.
The skeletons. Yeah. I think it was very well done for the time. Like, even the 90s, I think the skeletons, they were well done. It was better than the little ashes, I think.
For sure. And everything visually, and I know we're kind of breezing through this movie, but it's the most, like, ununique movie, but it is all visually well done. The comedy is very good. Everything's paced well. Like, it moves forward. I'm really not hating on this movie. It's just the least interesting to me personally.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's still one that I rewatch.
Sure, I watch it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, of course, in the end, Ash prevails. Of course, he saves the day, which leads us to the two endings. There's the true ending that the studio made him release, and then we watched the director's cut ending when we watched it, which is it's kind of the canon ending now with the end of Ash versus Evil Dead, but it's supposed to take 3 drops. And he ends up taking like 4 or 5 or something.
Apparently, this dude can't listen to directions, can't read a thing, can't
and he ends
count.
up sleeping too long, and he awakes. He has this huge beard, and he walks out, and it's pretty much like the world's destroyed. Like it's post-apocalyptic. He's like, "Oh no, I slept too long.
I slept too long.
I slept too long," and it's a very bleak ending. And that was the one that was intentionally supposed to be used, and the studio was like, "No, this is too bleak. Like the people want a good ending, an upbeat ending." So that's where they made the new one.
Which is better.
The canon, I think the canon ending is better. Yeah, where he ends up back at S Smart, and he's telling the story to the people who obviously have heard this story a couple times, and they obviously don't believe him. And then the Deadites come back, and then he ends up, saving the day once again.
Oh.
And then for some reason he just rips off his work uniform, and he has the
whole getup on.
His like Ash costume, the blue shirt with the brown pants underneath it, even with like the shotgun holster underneath it. I would say it's probably my third favorite out of all 3 of these.
It's my third favorite.
I love the second one, the first one, and probably this one. That's not diminishing it at all. I do like this movie. It is a good movie. But yeah, what are you guys like overall impressions of Army in Darkness?
Like I said, it's probably my favorite just because of how easy it was to just get through. Like not necessarily like the other 2 were harder, but it was more laid back, like you said, made for TV type of fucking movie, Man. But my favorite part of the movie, and like I still think about this all the time, is that part when that skeleton's walking through playing the flute, like just the bone. He's just playing the bone, bro. Like
it's weird what sticks with you.
Like I fucking love that part, man. That's my favorite part of the movie. Just like think about how fun. I remember just watching that, like this is ridiculous, but that's my favorite part.
So how would you rank them?
Yeah, what would be your favorite?
This one,
okay.
Number 1, and then number 2, and then the first one.
Oh, okay.
So like 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1. Well, I'll just do my ranking. Everybody kind of knows it. 1, 2, 3 for me. It goes in order. And it's a very close race between 1 and 2. It depends on my mood a lot of the times, which one I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
Now I'm with you guys. 3 is the most consumable. It is the one when I let my kids watch Evil Dead, it'll probably be the one I show them first because it's the most tame. It's something they can watch, where the other 2 get a little bit like where I'm like, I don't know if I need to watch this. But I do recommend it highly because it is who created the modern Ash. And I really want to leave off in the review of this. Everybody should watch Ash versus the Evil Dead. It is fantastic.
Yeah.
It is a great show.
Yeah, I was going to get into that here is we are missing some Evil Dead stuff to cover a little bit, which we will probably do in the future. There is Fede Alvarez's remake of Evil Dead that came out in 2013. We'll get to that. I think it's very hit or miss with the Evil Dead community, but I love it. I love the movie.
think it's good too.
I think it's a good one.
I gotta see that and the TV show.
Yeah,
I own the movie. You can definitely you can't watch it on anything digital only. Anyways,
that's one we might have to get together to watch as well.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we'll probably end up reviewing that at some point. The show, it's 3 seasons, a little longer. It's harder to digest. But of course, Bruce Campbell comes back, and he's just an older Ash. He's just an old asshole that's out here, and he has to save the world again. We do have Evil Dead Rise coming out next year, which it's coming on HBO Max. Which I don't know.
I'm excited.
I don't really know enough about it. I know Bruce Campbell is done with Ash.
That's okay for me.
So we'll see where that leads us. I'm sure we'll do a review of it at that point whenever it comes out. Anything else you guys want to add regarding Evil Dead Trilogy?
My last thoughts would just be, for anybody who hasn't seen it, you should this is a truly iconic horror franchise. And like, it's so iconic. We played that, and I know this is a weird reference, but we played that Broforce game. Like, it's moved past just horror people. Like, it is an iconic character that most people know who Ash from Evil Dead is.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for it. It wasn't just like luck, you know, like there's a reason people keep going back to this movies and keep watching this movies. And we met Bruce Campbell one time and he was a great guy. Like, he seemed like a pretty cool dude, you know?
Yeah,
So
he was awesome.
me and Wyatt got to meet him. It was a fun experience. So I highly, highly, highly suggest this series. I think anybody who watches it will find at least one movie they enjoy. I also want to know what's everybody else's favorite. If you're watching this, comment. What's your favorite?
Yeah.
What is your Evil Dead list? Give me your 3, 2, 1. I want to know at this point. Like, I know most people are a 2 fan. Like, mostly everybody I talk to, their favorites 2. So I want to know, anybody on my train?
That's the most common favorite out of them all is 2.
Is anybody on my train? Who loves 1? Let me hear some love. Let me hear some love.
Yeah, because we'll have another debate on this eventually. Because me and you are the same way about Alien and Aliens as well.
But like, vice versa.
Exactly. I love the first one. You like the second one.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that'll be a debate
man.
for eventually. Maybe we'll cover like the Alien quadrilogy at some point. But yeah, that was the Evil Dead trilogy. If you haven't watched it, make sure to go watch them. Fantastic movies. Make sure to like and subscribe on our channel. Make sure to go follow all of our great content on here. And we'll see everybody next time.